There was a Disney earnings call earlier today, and there was a lot of interesting stuff that came out of that, like the future of Hulu. Looks like they're going to phase out Hulu. I don't know how long it'll take them, but they're going to phase that out and move everything over to Disney Plus. And I don't know if that's the smart idea. Hulu is really big. I think it has a large audience. Seems kind of dumb to phase that app out, but well, whatever. Let's talk about Marvel, though, because they did address some things. Like, for one, that Thunderbolts is a flop. No shit. At least they admit it. Yeah, nobody watched this movie. They probably have watched it now that it's on streaming, and with streaming comes pristine copies floating around on the internet. So I'm sure a lot of people have watched this by now, but most of those people didn't go see it when it was in the theaters, and that's a major problem. So Thunderbolts, officially a flop, even though it already was, but seeing Disney admit that is always kind of funny. Also, Elio, that was also a big flop. I don't know what's going to happen with Pixar. Whether they're just going to make Toy Story movies over and over? Pixar's in rough shape, man. But this is not the news that I really want to talk about. What I want to talk about is something that I find very funny, and that's that apparently Fantastic Four is a new IP. It's an original property. So that's why it's not doing so well. Nobody knows who the Fantastic Four are. But wait a minute. Didn't you introduce them? Okay, let's go ahead and just push aside the fact that there's been decades of cartoons, comics, movies. You had 3 with Fox. The first 2, the ones, most people liked the first one. The second one, not so much. That Galactus Cloud thing was kind of stupid. But the point is, there were 2 movies, and then there was that third movie nobody watched because it was stupid, where Johnny Storm was black. But those 2 movies, especially the first one, was a box office hit. Second one, not so much, but the first one was. Also, those movies were like at the golden age of comic book movies. We're talking Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. We're talking about Fox X-Men movies. Don't give me this shit. Everyone knows who the Fantastic Four are. Whether or not, the question is the brand still strong? And it does not appear that it is. I don't think the Fantastic Four are as relevant as they used to be, and part of that is Marvel's fault for burying them for so long. They do not have the power of the X-Men to stay relevant regardless. So they buried the Marvel Fantastic Four for many years. But to say nobody knows who they are, and I'm going to show you exactly what it said, but I just find this hilarious. All that shit aside, they've been teasing the hell out of them for years. Multiverse of Madness, which even though it had an interesting ride, still made money at the box office, which I would argue is because of the piggybacking of that Spider-Man movie. They piggybacked off of that movie, and Doctor Strange had a big part in that movie. So naturally, yeah, everyone was going to run and go see Multiverse of Madness. But who was in Multiverse of Madness? That's right. A version of Mr. Fantastic. The first time the Fantastic Four appeared. Well, one of them. But the brand itself appearing in an MCU movie. And a big one. Then don't forget that Johnny Storm was in Deadpool and Wolverine. Pretty big cameo. I mean, I think it's safe to spoil, right? Chris Evans, Johnny Storm shows up. They make a whole joke about it. Oh, it's not Captain America, it's Johnny Storm. That was a funny moment too. So saying that these guys just popped out of nowhere and nobody knows who they are, Deadpool and Wolverine was very loved and made a lot of money, had a lot of repeat viewings. But yeah, nobody knows who the hell the Fantastic Four are, sure. But they're treating it like it's an original movie, first time, first IP. It's crazy. In the wake of Disney's Q3 FY 2025 earnings call on August 6th, 2025, Bob Iger sparked debate among fans, analysts, and industry observers with his comments on intellectual property. While discussing the balance between creating new content and leveraging established franchises, Iger suggests that Marvel Studios continues to mine its library of characters for original property. I think that is a smart idea. How about you use the shit people like, too, by the way? Stop going to all new, all different Marvel. That's what's killed their brand, was mining that shit. Imagine having decades of amazing Marvel content at your fingertips, and you decide you're going to pull from the garbage trash from 2016 that everybody hated. That brand change that they did then almost killed Marvel Comics, I would say. I mean, everyone hated that shit, but they dismissed criticism by calling everybody bigots. But here's what he said specifically. The Fantastic Four was used as an example, describing it as an original property in many respects, because it introduces the characters to an audience that, according to Iger, is unfamiliar with them, even though they were in Multiverse of Madness and Deadpool and Wolverine, and in a bunch of Fox movies that honestly wasn't even that long ago, 2005. At least it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But either way, they were in Deadpool and Wolverine, massive movie. Everybody has probably seen that. And Multiverse of Madness had Reed Richards in it. What a cope. That is a cope on a whole new level. Here's what he fully said. We continue to be focused on creating new IP. Obviously, that's of great value to us long term. But also, know that the popularity of our older IP remains significant. And the opportunity is to either produce sequels or to basically bring them forward in a more modern way, as we've done, or convert what's previously animation to live action like we're doing with Moana in 2026. It's just a great opportunity for the company and supports our franchise. So I wouldn't say that we've got a priority one way or the other. Our priority is to put out great movies that ultimately resonate with consumers. Same thing. The more we can find and develop original property, the better, of course. We are developing original property for under the 20th Century banner and under the Searchlight banner. And look, you could even argue that Marvel continues to mine its library of characters for original property. Even though, for instance, there have been Fantastic Four movies before, we kind of consider the one we did an original property in many respects. We're introducing those characters to people who are not familiar with them at all, which is bullshit. As pointed out here in this article, everyone knows who they are. It's not like you're bringing up it's not like you're bringing up Hawkeye, and I know everybody knows who he is, right? Or She-Hulk. Like, this is the Fantastic Four. It's Marvel's first family. Everybody knows who they are. The real question is, were they still relevant enough to carry shit? And the answer obviously was no. But, you know, I would argue if this movie had came out 5 years ago, it probably would have done a hell of a lot better. But, I mean, look at all the garbage that's led up to this movie. What did they put out right before this movie came out? Ironheart show, which everybody hated. And they've barely had anything good in almost a decade now. When did Endgame come out? They really, other than like X-Men 97 and Deadpool and Wolverine and Spider-Man, I have not liked anything that they've put out. This was probably the first decent thing that they've done really in live action. Because you can't even say Spider-Man is them. Or even Deadpool and Wolverine in a lot of ways, because that was really a Ryan Reynolds joint. And Spider-Man was more so handled by Sony in a lot of ways. X-Men 97 even, really, that's based on the old property, and they got a fan to do it, but then they fired him. But this is probably the best thing that they've done since Endgame themselves, really, and no one watched it. No one watched it. And that's their fault. But what a cope to try to pass this off as some kind of new thing. Get the hell out of here. No, this is not new at all. That is next level coping, man. So wait for that next earnings call. When they admit this one failed, that's going to be fun. As much as the media is trying to spin this movie's box office as a win, we know it's not. This movie's going to fall off a cliff next week. Or next week, in a couple of days, Weapons and Freakier Friday. A Disney movie is going to knock a Disney movie down the chart. It's going to be kind of funny. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.